Fighters, UFC color commentator and UFC lightweight. He rematches Edson Barboza at UFC 242 in Abu Dhabi, 7th September. Mr. Paul Felder. Paul, buddy, how are you? Just back from Las Vegas after a crazy international fight week.
Crazy. Yes, just got back the other day. Back in training mode. I know I've been training this whole time, but now, I've finally got a goal in mind. So back to the grind. Then I got one more contender series, and then from there I'll go out to Dukes, stay in Milwaukee for the last 6.5 weeks, 7 weeks.
Paul, I got to ask you about obviously commentating on Jorge Masvidal's win over Ben Askren, and I know obviously Ben has been working a little bit with you guys up in Milwaukee with Rufus Sport. What was that like, first of all, to commentate on such a surreal experience? And we saw your reaction, obviously, on the UFC social media team. Talk to me through what that was like.
That's the realest reaction I've had in a long time. That was not forced. I wasn't trying to do anything. I could not believe it. There was a lot of back and forth. Hold on, Ashley. A lot of back and forth between these two guys. And, Masvidal's a G, man. He really is. He went out there and did exactly what he said he was going to do. They practiced that knee over and over again, and leading up to this, just everything about it, I was like, oh my God, Matt, no way that's how it went down. And as far as Ben, I feel bad for him, man. I think he's a skilled SOB, but I never trained with him. I never trained with Ben. He works with Duke, though.
Yeah.
Well, a couple times a week they would work pads, but so I don't know him too well, but still felt it. I know him well enough where I don't want to see that happen to anybody that I know. But man, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it was unreal.
It was a crazy knockout.
Yeah, insane. I just want to get your thoughts before we move on. Obviously, talk about Edson Barboza as well. The main event, John Jones. There's a little bit of controversy on who won the fight. How did you score the fight?
I had John winning the fight. I thought it was really close, and I thought Thiago did a fantastic job. I thought he did. I had high hopes for him, but in terms of catching him, which he almost did, man, you see that he can really take out anybody if you put that guy in front of him. And then when his knee went, I think I was so concerned about that I even kind of forgot how well he was doing. I want to go back and watch it and take a look at it again, because when you're calling the fights, people don't realize there's so much going on that it's not like you're just at home chilling and you can score it as you go. You're talking to Joe, you're talking to John, you're commenting on the fight, you have producers in your ear, guiding you through the show.
No, I agree. I've watched it back twice, and I can see. I did originally score for Santos 3-2. That second was super tight. The fifth was super tight. But if you watch it back more, you can see John Jones' output was a lot more than probably we originally thought watching it.
Yeah, and I saw the final score counts on the strikes, and Jones, I think, took every round but one in terms of significant strikes. And he did drop him significantly with that elbow, which we kind of glanced over in the commentary, which I said he was dropped, and I think we weren't sure, but it definitely was an beautiful time, step in, lead elbow from John Jones. Man, and his confidence just going into that week was, when we interviewed him, I don't know who's going to do it now. I really don't, man.
No, I agree, man. He's an absolute beast.
That was nice.
Yeah, we'll be seeing that rematch, I think, soon. Listen, let's talk about injuries. You've had your fair few over the last 2 years, it's fair to say. The lung, the broken arm, you had obviously the cut abrasion above your head and the chip there as well. How's your health, Paul, after that, that lung injury and that operation that you had to have in the lungs?
Oh, it's really good. As far as breathing and all that stuff, that's been good for months now. The only trouble I was having for a little while was it was a significant cut that they had to open up to get in there, and that scar tissue was kind of bothering me up until probably last month or so. It's not at all. I'm getting hit with a ton of body shots from my teammates, and nothing is affecting me. I'm running just as much as ever. Cardio's on point. It feels good. So that's why I'm glad that September is fine. I was originally going to wait around until October, but once I started going back to full training and kind of feeling out how my body was and where my shape was, that's always the concern, right, when you come back from a long layoff with these injuries. Like, what's my cardio going to be like? Yeah. But luckily for me, the doctors were immediately like, hey, you can start doing cardio to expand your lung. It's not going to hurt it as long as you're not getting hit. You'll be fine. So from within, I'd say, 5-6 days after being released from the hospital, I was on the treadmill.
Wow.
So I was doing cardio this entire time. In fact, for months, that's all I could do. So I was just running, just doing, sprint work and some pad work. And so I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get it going. I'm glad that I get to go in there before. We were aiming at possibly San Fran as a date originally.
Yeah, Paul, obviously as well, all those injuries, things that you happen. I know you mentioned recently as well that, sometimes you were just going to reassess it at one point. You listened to what a lot of people said about you potentially, maybe walking away from the sport to a certain extent and focusing on your commentary. I saw a lot of people saying that to you. You addressed that recently. Was there ever that doubt that you might walk away from the sport with all the injuries?
Yeah, it's always on your mind, right? I mean, I'm 35, had a punctured lung, broken forearm, more cuts than I can count, knee surgeries, broken orbital bones. But every time I call these fights and I see these fighters cutting weight and doing their thing and signing posters and at fight week, I'm far from ready to give that up yet. If my body really wasn't feeling good or up to the task, I would quit. I have nothing stopping me from quitting. Only thing keeping me from quitting, fighting, and retiring is because I still think that where I am at mature-wise and physically still in my 30s, I feel like I finally have a grasp. I have a game plan. I have coaches that are really going to put me in a position to possibly get to that title shot. And Edson getting a rematch back, I've always kind of wondered what would happen if I got this one back. And I have nothing but love for Edson personally. But he's standing in my way. And I got to kick his ass to get to that belt. That's all there is to it. So, yeah, there was moments where I'm like, shit, especially right after the lung. It's like, what the hell am I doing? But, you forget that. Fighters have short memories. We start training again, and we get that fire back. And, yeah, as soon as I was cleared, fighters, we go through it every day. The grind is tough for this sport. And it's a lonely situation, especially the way I set it up on purpose to be out there in Milwaukee away from her. It drives her crazy too. But when I get to go home after a win, it's the best thing in the world. Unless you're whining like this.
Yeah, talk to me about that. How did the fight come together? Because I know you wanted the winner. Gaethje was close at one point to potentially being on the table as well. Talk to me about the whole piecing together with Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard, how this fight came together.
Yeah, well, there was always this idea, right? Because from the beginning, when I called, when I worked on the desk for the Gaethje and Barboza fight, I said after my fight that was what I was looking at, the winner or the loser. Obviously, you want the winner. You want the guy who's streaking. You want the guy who presents a bigger chance to move up the rankings. But you got to be realistic in this sport and know that I'm only 10th. Gaethje's, I think, 5th. So, I mean, it's what I wanted. Justin knows that I just saw him at the PI the other day, and we're already talking to each other. There's no beef there. This is what the media makes up because, we had our moment. He was grumpy that I took his spotlight, which is fine. And then I was mad at the media for blowing it up. But there's no beef there. I just want to fight the best guys in the world and try to become the best. If not, I'm going to retire. But I do believe that Edson is still one of the best, and he's a few spots above me. So that's how it worked out. I mean, Al is another one I would have loved to got because just because we were supposed to fight a couple times. And other than that, there's Cowboy. I don't want to fight Cowboy. He's like a mentor to me and a guy that kind of got me into this sport and where I'm at. Obviously, Anthony, who's fighting at 70 again, is above me. He's still at 55, but that's another one I don't want to fight Anthony ever. We're literally on the mats every day together. It just can't happen. I'd have to switch camps. He ain't going anywhere. That's his team. You know what I mean? That's Anthony's spot. And Kevin Lee, we didn't know what he was doing, and I don't know if he's coming back to 55 or 70. So he needs some time to think things through. So that it seemed pretty clear to me and my coaches that it was probably going to be Edson, which is another one. Me and him don't necessarily want to beat the crap out of each other again, but
you've always sort of wanted that rematch, though. It's sort of has it not sort of ate away at you? We spoke in London, and you talked openly about possibly having that fight. Is everything really cool with you and Edson? Like, you were sparring partners as well after the fight. It does eat away with you that it was the first loss of your career as well.
That's what makes it so juicy for me, man. It's like it wasn't my first loss in the UFC. That was my first career loss as a professional. So I've had that spotlight, right? I've had my chance with him, and I went 3 rounds with him back and forth. I won 1 round, and he won 2, and it was the fight of the night. Dana White had some things to say, said it took me to a next level, and I just got to go out there and prove that I've gotten so much better over 4 years. 4 years, and I'm on a streak right now, lightweight. I lost at Mike Perry at 70, but 4 wins in a row with 3 knockouts for me at 55.
Talk to me about that. That first loss of your career. The fight after you lost to Ross Pearson. We often talk about this in the world of mixed martial arts, that it's very hard and it's very interesting to see how a guy reacts to the first loss of his career. Was that a difficult spell for you psychologically, mentally, coping with that?
Yeah, I started thinking, maybe I'm not that good, and then you lose 2 in a row, and you're like, wow, I'm definitely not that good. I suck. Started going through my mind, and I was hurting after that one. I remember being backstage and just breaking down. It's like I had won 10 fights in a row up until that point, with most of them being knockouts or finishes, and then suddenly I meet a guy who's better at what I do at the time, and I didn't know enough strategy and game plan wise to adjust on the fly, right? I'm faced with this kickboxer who's faster than me, who maybe kicks a little harder than me. Not much. And now I'm not sure that he does at all, to be honest with you now, if you see me on the pads with Duke anymore. But I didn't have a coach at the time that could, figure things out on the fly like that with me, and kind of go in there with a very specific game plan. You see the guys that at this level, you have to not only have the balls, the skills, and the coaching staff to get to the top.
Is there real will? Is there anything, from your time up with Mark Henry and the guys there? Is there any sort of bitterness between you and the guys there? And are you and Edson maybe from that time? No?
No. When I left there, Mark it literally came down to he had no time for me. And at first I was a little disgruntled and bothered by that, because some other guys kind of came after me. It's like, I thought you didn't have time for me. But a lot of that was, kind of forced on him, and he's really cool with Ali and all his guys. So they're going to get, first dibs at Mark before I was. And in hindsight, me and Mark have even talked about it. It would not have been good for me. That is not my style. I'm a walk up in your face. I need somebody that can take my style and adjust it, and it's Duke. He's just as crazy as I am.
That's right.
Striker, and then on top of that, he's hired the rest of the guys around him to fill all the other holes. We've got great wrestlers that we train with every day. Daniel Vanderlei is a sick jiu-jitsu coach, man. When I'm home here, I'm obviously doing more grappling and jiu-jitsu than I'm doing anything else when I train with the MMA team at Renzo Gracie Philly or EEFC with my coach John. It's like I'm working on that stuff more than ever. But this fight, when I get out there with Duke, man, I've already worked with him out in Vegas. He was there for Ben. So we're game planning. I'm in great shape already. I got 9 weeks to go. So,
well, put it into context for people who are, wouldn't have really known you back then. Obviously, you're a lot more in the spotlight now in terms of your fighting career. And, a lot of people, most people listening to this would have watched that first fight because it was an absolute barn burner. It was a cracker. But how different are you now, and how much more improved and technical from that first fight against Edson Barboza in Chicago?
Niall, it's not even close, bro. I'm so much different. I'm sure he is too, and he's back with top team down there and getting much different training than he was in New Jersey. But
is that an advantage, though? Is that an advantage for you? Maybe that he's down in ATT now instead of being up in with Mark Henry. Would have there been, a little advantage for him?
Tons of footage on our spot. Every round I ever did with Edson is on tape.
Wow.
Somewhere in Mark's collection of craziness.
Okay, so do you look at that as a positive, negative? Positive?
Man, I've always said that sparring is I'm not a sparring day kind of guy. I go crazy in the gym, I go hard, but I'm not necessarily my best. I've always been a game day kind of guy. I get beat up in the gym by some of my teammates that if we fist fought, in a cage in front of 17,000 people, it might be a different story. It's just how certain guys are. I've always been I rise to the occasion more than I do in training. I'll get mad, I'm competitive, that's for sure. But just because somebody might have bested me or not bested me in sparring, I'm not going to let that. And we had fun rounds, me and Edson. We were like really cool with each other when we trained together, even though we had fought. I was brought in to help him pretty much get ready for Anthony Pettis, who now I'm helping, train. It's a crazy small world, MMA.
Yeah, it
Dude.
is, man.
It's
It
like a high
is.
school.
It is definitely. You love entertaining fans. I know Edson does as well. I think this is going to be a very different fight from the first one in terms of, maybe you're going to be a little bit more cerebral in your approach. I've seen that, in your game. You haven't got as angry. We've spoken about this before. When you used to get hit, you used to just go 0 to 100 and start trying to light the place up. Is this a prime example of you having to adapt that mindset and that skill set in?
If I start acting the way I did in that first fight, Duke is going to slap me in the face in the corner. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
He's already on me. He's on me every day in sparring. When he sees me get mad and start doing dumb stuff, my hands come down, or I get hit and I get mad, he's like, "They're supposed to hit you. You're fighting. You're fighting. Let it happen and hit them back and get them back better." And that was one of my biggest problems in that fight. Is Edson's fast. He's gonna hit you. He's gonna kick your leg. He's gonna switch kick you. It's gonna happen. What are you gonna do to get him back? Follow it in, counter, pressure him. There's so many different things I could have done better than I did. Instead of I'm beating my chest and yelling, and yeah, it got me fighting tonight. The fans loved it. And that needed to happen at that point in my career. But now
You're
it's
over
a
that
different
hill.
ball game.
Yeah, you're over
Oh,
that hill.
trying to be the best, man. At that time, I don't think I knew if I was going to be ranked 10 or 9 in the world or whatever. I was fighting for money for this one here. She had just been born back then.
Yeah, I remember. I
He
remember,
was,
yeah.
he was a newborn when I fought him. I'm not the same person at all.
Are you a little bit? I know you wanted a main event slot and maybe a 5-rounder.
Better.
Are
This is
you?
better.
Is this better than a
This is
5-rounder?
100%. I wanted. Ashton, hold on one second. I wanted a main event because I wanted a big spotlight, and I didn't think that a co-main on a pay-per-view was even a feasible thing for me. You know what I mean? I landed in Vegas, and we were talking about San Fran. We were talking about a couple other dates that needed spots, like Vancouver was talked about. I don't know if they announced the one date I want to say, so I'm not sure. Have they announced the rest of October?
No, I don't know. I don't even know yet. So
I won't say it, right? But
don't
I
say it. It's fine.
know of a date that would have been awesome for us. An ESPN date, and that was all being considered. These were real things. And Sean said, "I want to put you in a spot. I think you've earned it. I think with you doing so much commentary, we can get behind you and push it."
Yeah, definitely.
So it was either going to be a co-main or a main on a card, but I had no idea Abu Dhabi was going to be it. I think they tried to get something that didn't work out, and they needed us.
Well,
And
the
I said
biggest
yes.
actor-view, pay-per-view fighter in the organization is Habib Nurmagomedov, so the eyes are going to be on you and Edson. But looking at your style, that's what I sort of maybe getting at. That maybe a 5-rounder might be better for your style going into fight, because traditionally, maybe until the last 2 or 3 fights, I've noticed you've started the first round a lot better. Before that, maybe before the Stevie Ray fight, you started pretty slowly in the first round. Will that be fair to say?
I think that's Duke. I think switching up and working with him, he's got me being, getting right into it.
Yeah.
Not in a dumb way, but in a like let's go. And I've definitely got the cardio to do the 3 rounds. That's why I wanted 5, because I feel like if the stuff starts getting ugly in there, that's when I kind of get going even better. So if it's a 5th round and it's been an ugly, bloody elbow type of fight, will you sit down? You're making me nervous. You're gonna fall into bed. She's like, your shoes are on. Are you out of your mind? This is my bed. Children, have a seat. All right, sorry.
Are we going to see a finish in this fight, Paul Felder? I think everyone, we look at the first fight, how exciting it was, but, I agree with you. I think you both have come on so much since that fight. I think we're going to see a finish in this one.
You know goddamn well that's what I want, man. I would love nothing more than to be able to put an end to it. You know what I mean? If we go 1-1, but mine was a finish and he had the decision, I think we can put this to bed and be boys after this. And I know that's what Duke wants. We want to make a statement. If I can get a finish on this Abu Dhabi card, man.
Yeah, what does that do for you? Because we've seen the division unravel. It was very, very, what would I say, log jammed a couple of months ago. When we spoke in London even, there was none of these fight announcements that we've seen in the lightweight division. Do you see a clear path now, what you have to do in order to get that title shot?
Yeah, I think I do. And I think this was it. I think this was one of them that had to be done. There's a guy in this division that's creeping above me by just a few spots that gave me my first loss, beat me up a little bit, and it's like, what better way to prove to the UFC and to myself that I belong at the top than to take out, possibly the most dangerous striker in the division other than myself.
Well, who gets a shot next then? That's an interesting one. Is it Tony Ferguson, 12-fight win streak after we see Khabib and Dustin? Is it Conor McGregor again? If you go out there impressively, is it you? Who knows the way things are playing?
Me necessarily, unless some things happen with injuries and stuff like that. But I do believe that an impressive win for me puts me into a spot above a lot of other guys just because, my style, the way I fight. If I can get some impressive wins, I think Dana and Sean, it's not going to be hard to convince them that, I'll take on anybody above me at that point. But, the Justin, the Al, these guys are still above me, even if I win against Edson. If I win against Edson, I think it's pretty clear that I'll get the 7th spot, right? So I mean, we're in the mix, baby. We win that one, we are in the mix.
Well, Paul, look what happened at UFC 223. You were a matter of minutes away from getting a world title shot. You never know. The same thing might happen in Abu Dhabi. Who knows? But listen, mate, it's always a good chat up. Yeah, hopefully I'll be over for that in Abu Dhabi. I appreciate the time, man. Looking forward to chatting to you soon.
Thanks, man. Always good talking to you. You're my guy.